This is Dan Abbott. I'm making this video for all of the students who are taking classes with me this semester so that you can see how to manage our learning management system, how to submit work, and what you can expect from the class. So this is for everybody. I'm going to use one class as an example, but you go onto our website, smccme.edu, go to my SMCC. You'll log in. When you get done logging in, I may already be logged in. I am. So you have to go through your credentials. There are 3 locations that you're going to be using for my class. One of them is going to be the email location, where you'll be getting email from me, and I will only communicate with you using your school email address. So I want you to use that address if you contact me, and that's how I will contact you. That means you must check your email on a regular basis. And it is possible for you to forward your email from the school email address to your personal email address if you wish to. I would not if I were you. I would keep them separate. You just have to make sure you go and check your email on your SMCC account on a regular basis. I mean, at least weekly. Brightspace is where you're going to go to our learning management system, so you'll see where all the requirements for the courses are, all the materials you need to answer to complete the projects, etc. And my workspace is a virtual desktop that you can use to complete work requiring computer-aided design software or any other computer-based software. But you do need to have an internet connection, and this is there. And the reason we did this is so that you are not required to purchase or upgrade a Windows-based computer in order to work on the programs that we need to use for our classes. This is especially helpful to those of you with Apple-based computers, because you don't need to then switch to a Windows computer, which is what all of our technical software runs on. You can actually get to our desktop directly through your Mac. I am going to start with Brightspace. So we're in Brightspace right now, and when you go to Brightspace, you get your home page, and that home page shows you all the courses that you're taking. These are all the courses that I'm teaching. I've set myself up here as a learner so that what I show you here will look like what you'll be seeing when you log in. I'll just pick one of the classes as an example. So I'm a student in mechanical design right now. When I go there, I'm going to go to the home page, and I want you to check this on a regular basis. I want you to set up your Brightspace account so that it automatically notifies you if I put in an announcement, because this is how I'm going to give you information on a regular basis that I expect you to read. The opening announcement is a welcome to class announcement. I've made a little video just to demonstrate to you how I will be teaching so that you can get a sense of how the classes will go. You don't have to watch that, but it would be helpful to you, I think, just to see how I'm planning to do something, and that's just one of the topics from the class. Then down here I have a link to my open office hours and lab hours, all of which will be on Zoom, and that link is right here. When you select that link and use the passcode AEDD, you can get into that Zoom call. You can also use that link if you want to work with other students. You don't need me to be able to get into that session. I will be on that session myself on Mondays from 5:30 to 7:30, on Tuesdays from 1:30 to 3, and I'll also be in my office in the Ross Technology Building on our Southern Maine campus, South Portland campus. But I'll be on Zoom as well, so you can always enter the session using the Zoom link. Wednesdays from 10 to 12, Thursdays from 1:30. Friday from 1 to 3, I'll be in Brunswick, in person, in the computer lab in the L.L. Bean Commons room. That open session is primarily for people who are taking classes with me in the morning, who are part of the BIW apprenticeship cohort, but you're certainly welcome to join on Zoom if you have a question of some kind. I also have a link here to a general Google Drive. So if you go to that link, it's going to take you directly to this drive called Our Drive Student. And in that drive, you have folders that have additional reference materials that you can use. And those additional reference materials include a number of things, and that may not be part of the Brightspace assignment. I will give you the material that you need to do the assignments in Brightspace, but these are additional reference materials, including under Our Drive General. You open that up, you'll see that there are grid paper here, there are templates in AutoCAD, templates for SolidWorks, the title blocks that you can use that are school title blocks, and some other things as well. Let's go back. to Brightspace. The section here on how I evaluate your work, I want you to read over that. It's different than the way a lot of you may have been evaluated in the past. I evaluate work the way I would evaluate you if you were working for me. In other words, it has to be right. If it's not right, you have to do it again. So you're not going to get a C from me when you submit some work on time for the first time, if it's on time. If you submit something on time that meets all the standards that I set, you'll get a 10. If you submit something on time that doesn't meet those standards, you get a 5, which is a temporary grade. That means you must correct the problems and resubmit it. I'll give you feedback indicating where it is that you went wrong, and then you can resubmit that, and when you resubmit it, you'll end up with a grade that is 1 point lower than it would have been otherwise. If it's not at that point correct, then you have to submit it again, in which case you'll have a grade of a 4. So your grade will drop every time you submit it by 1 point. Once you finally submit a project that meets my standards, I will add 4 points to whatever your grade was when you resubmitted it. I do this, and I've done this for 40 years as a technical educator, because in my experience it's the best way for me to get you to actually become good and proficient at the kinds of things that I'm covering. My goal is to put you in a position to be useful to an employer, and an employer will not accept mediocre work. They will expect you to redo work until it's right. You'll get used to this as we go along. If you submit work that's done by hand, and some of you will be doing that in this particular class, there'll be some things we have to sketch. I require that you submit that work as a PDF file, and that means you must photograph it or scan it if you have a camera, which I think you all do, probably. The way to do that, I'm going to recommend and probably insist on if you don't do a good job otherwise, is a software application called Microsoft Lens, which you can download, and I give you the link for Android and for Apple phones, for iPhones. And it works great for taking a photograph on your phone of a document and having it converted to a PDF. Do not submit anything other than PDF or DOC files also in some cases. Don't submit anything other than a PDF or a DOC file for something you sketched. HEIC, which is a format used by the iPhone, I cannot read. Brightspace cannot read it. I'm not going to spend time trying to convert it. So you have to submit things in a format that I can open and read. If you have an assignment that requires more than one page, I want them all combined in one PDF file. Microsoft Lens makes that really easy to do. You take a photograph, you like it, you pick add, and you take another photograph, you like it, you pick add, and you keep doing that till you're all done. All the photographs are taken, you pick none, and now they're all combined into a single document. Another announcement here tells you that you must use the ASME standard for dimensioning for values, for using numerical values when you're dimensioning or putting numbers on anything else. That means whatever you normally do when you create numbers, I don't care what they are. You can do whatever you want elsewhere, but you must meet the American Society of Mechanical Engineers standards for how numbers are formed. There's a very good reason for that, of course, which is that you want no ambiguity when you put a number down. So no little loops at the bottom of your 2. The 4 has to have a point on it, cannot be open. The 7 cannot have a line through it. The 8 cannot be the infinity symbol. It has to be 2 circles. The 9, I'll let you put a straight line or do the format that is normally used, which is this, because people find that very hard to do. 6 is easy, 9 is hard for some reason, even though it's an upside down 6. So you can draw a 9 like that. And then a 0 looks like that, of course. All the announcements do not necessarily appear on the home page. When it runs out of room, it puts them on the announcements page. So on the announcements page, you have all the announcements that are current. If you scroll down, you notice that it goes on to include how to get SolidWorks software if you're using SolidWorks. The software we're going to be using will be SolidWorks, or we'll be using AutoCAD, depending on what class you're taking with me, or both in some cases. But if you want to use our virtual desktop, I'll show you that in a second, you don't need to download this software. I'll show you how to do that as well, although I just scrolled down to the our web page. So if you go back here where you've logged in, my workspace is right here. And what you'll do is go through a Citrix gateway. And that gateway simply means you're linking to a server on our campus. And you're using that server, that physical computer, instead of your own. And your computer is simply a link to the computer you'll be using. Yours won't say AED FS, it's a faculty, but yours will say AED. Double click on that. open Citrix Launcher, and I would say always do that. And if you may have to download Citrix, it will tell you that. And if you have any difficulty with this, you can contact our IT department and they will give you some assistance. This will take a little while, so you have to be a little bit patient. But once you get on there, you can be using our virtual desktop. It'll look like this at some point, which is why at this point you know you're on our server on our virtual desktop. And it's just going through and setting it up. Your name will be here. You'll already have been logged in because that's the only way to get to it. You have to be on our website to get there. And it'll give you a little welcome thing, and then you get a little circle that keeps going until it's ready. Once it's set up, you'll get this screen. It's the Spring Point Lighthouse. That's the lighthouse that's on our campus. Our building is over here. You can't see it, but all the software that we use in our program and software that's used generally in school, including all the Microsoft products, all of them are on here. They might not have a link on the desktop, so if you wanted to use Microsoft Word, for instance, you might have to go down here and type it in, or go here and get a listing, and that listing will include Excel, which is one of the things you might have to use for one of our classes. You've got other software here, some 3D printing software, but you also have all the Microsoft software down here. So under Microsoft Office Tools, no, not under Tools. Yeah, under Word, for instance, that's the tool. I would assume that I sort of thought it was going to be under the folder, but anyway, because you have Microsoft Word here, you have the other kinds of software that normally comes with Windows. So SolidWorks or AutoCAD is what you'd be using from the classes that I'm teaching this semester. Don't bother to use AutoCAD Mechanical. You can try it if you want, but it has a level of complexity that we won't be dealing with in the class that I teach, but that doesn't mean you can't use it. I think most of you in mechanical design will be using SolidWorks. All of you in CAD management will be using AutoCAD. The generic version of AutoCAD, the vanilla they call it, is a better use for what we're going to be doing than mechanical. So those are the two tabs you're likely to use. In other classes in our department, you might be using Revit, you might be using 3D Max, other kinds of classes, other kinds of software. So you can just use it the way you would use it on your own computer. Just start it up and off it goes. The little control at the top, that little arrow with all the dots on it, and right now it's coming out in full screen, but if you don't want it in full screen, you go down and you've got a few tools here, and one of them is called Window. And when you do that, it just allows you to move the window that shows you the virtual desktop around. So it's still our virtual desktop, but your computer is also available to you in the background. So if you want to work with it so that you've got other things going on in your actual computer, you can do that, or you can maximize this window and have it feel just like you're working on your own computer. When you're all done, and by the way, from here you can save things to a drive, that the drive you would be saving them to would be your N drive. So your N drive, and everybody has one, is your personal drive that I don't have access to. So that's not how you're going to submit work. You would use that only as a way of sort of storing things that you want to use later on. As far as submitting work, once you're done, what you need to do is go to a virtual drive. So the virtual drive is a Google Drive, and to get to it, you can use a link that I sent you. This would have been last week. It's a link that I sent you in an email, your school email, that allows you to go directly to that folder, and that folder is on our server as well. Actually, it's on the Google server. So to get there, you have a couple of possibilities. One is to log in through Chrome while you're on the virtual drive. Again, this is independent of what you're doing on your own computer. Go to the smccme.edu website. When you get there, log in. You're going to log in with your credentials, put your password in. Now, I have the two-step verification. What I use is something known as a token. You won't have that, not available to students. In fact, you might not even have to do a two-stage authentication, I'm not sure. But I have this thing that actually generates a random code, and it generates it in my pocket and on our server at school, and allows me to type in that random number And the reason I don't mind you seeing that is because moments from now it will be a different random number. So it only works right now, so it knows that it's me. So I go in here, I've logged in, you can go to our website, and up here you've got, and the website, if you want to see the website, looks like this. So there's my SMCC, which is where you have to be. So you've got several things up here that you have to use, and I showed you that earlier. We're already in my workspace, but the reason I'm here is to go to email. Now again, I'm on the virtual drive here. If you're working on your own computer, you won't need to be here in order to do this. But when the email shows up, I sent you an email with a link in it. You can use that link directly to open up your Google Drive. So now I'm in my Google Drive for the AEDD 250 class. There's a Please Grade folder. Now you must put your work in that folder, and what you have to do is put a folder in that folder for each project. So if you have a project that requires you to use SolidWorks and create part files or create assembly files or create drawing files, all the files for that project must be in one folder and submitted here. So you open up the Please Grade folder. Notice I've already got something in here. Let me just delete that. So what I would do is to right click, folder upload, go and find a folder that you want that contains all the files you want to submit. So I'm just going to go to documents, and I'm just going to pick my drawings. It's not really something I need, but I'm going to select that. I'm going to upload it. And so there are no files, okay? Assume that there would be files in it. Let me do it when it has files in it. You go. But I should have set something up here. I'm going to go to the R drive. And I will go to print reading, and let's just say I wanted to upload that folder right there. So I pick it. It's got 14 files. I say yes, I want to upload it. It comes in. Now you're done putting it in that folder. You have to do one other thing though, which is in Brightspace. We'll go back to that. When I'm done grading or evaluating this, what I'm going to do is to move it into your Grade Ed folder, so it'll look like that. Don't put anything in Graded. That's where I put stuff. What you want to do is put things in the Please Grade folder, and you have access to the whole folder, and you can do anything you want outside of those two folders. But I created the Please Grade folder for you to submit work. I'll put things in the Graded folder once it's submitted. Now I'm going to get out of the virtual drive, and I'll do that by going to the Control-Alt-Delete option here. And when that comes up, I can pick the power button on the right, shut down. It'll go ahead and shut down. If it tells you that you still got something open, do you really mean it? Just say yes. Now when you get to this, you're back in your own computer, so I'll just close that up so I don't need to use it. And now we're going to go back to Brightspace. Actually, I'm already in Brightspace. Okay, so here's I realize I've got to gray it out. And that announcement is everything I got from SolidWorks itself. That's only if you want to put it on your own computer, and do not give that link to anyone else, because I have a finite number of these, and they will run out if anybody does more than what I'm giving you. Now, as far as submitting the work, I say you have to submit it on Google Drive. It shows you how to go about doing that here, and that you can use the link that I sent you, but you can also go to your email account. And in your email account, you can pick those nine little dots up here. It's kind of like a waffle iron. If you select that and then go to Drive, the folder that I assign to you will be a shared folder. So it'll either be shared drives or shared with me. And you'll see your name. It'll be your first name, middle initial, and last name. I don't have anything set up like that, but yeah. Anyway, you'll see it. It'll be your first name, middle initial, last name. You can open that folder up, and that's also where you can submit work as well. So you don't need to use a link. You can just go through the email. You must be logged into your email account in order to get access to that folder. If you try to get access from Even if you're using another email address, or if you haven't logged into Southern Maine Community College, you're not going to have access to your folder. So again, we're back in announcements. And that's it for announcements. Now, at the top of the page, and this is now in Brightspace still, you're going to use content very sparingly. Some faculty members do a lot of things with contact where everything is in the content. I don't do that. I want to have everything cleanly placed in the assignments folder only and not in two places. But what I have under content is resources. And for this particular class, those are templates for SolidWorks. Those are grid papers in PDF format that can be printed out for people doing sketches. There's a different kind of grid paper here. There's a sheet for handout for how to place dimensions correctly. Then there is a technical graphics overview document, which is a document that anybody could use if they want a refresher on technical graphics. This covers, particularly for mechanical, the entire technical graphics area. So there's all kinds of stuff there having to do with technical graphics. And then we have our standards manual. The standards manual is what we use in this department and require people to follow when they take courses, and their general rules, things as specific as how to do arrowheads, also the use of layers in AutoCAD, etc. So now that's all you're going to find in content. All the assignments are listed under assignments. Not everybody does this. Some people do everything under content and don't have anything under assignments. Some people put everything under assignments, and that's me. So when you look at the assignments, the ones that are open, and right now I've only got one of these opened right here, in order to see what the assignment is, and this is a mistake that some students have made in the past, there'll be attachments here, but those attachments aren't the assignment. The attachments are what you need to do the assignment. If you double click on the title, that tells you what you have to do. So it gives you instructions on what has to be done for this assignment. You get down through, and there are some references here. You also have the attachments, and the attachments in this case are going to include the overview. You actually saw those in content, but it's the overview of technical graphics as well as our standards manual that you can use as a reference. The assignment itself, the handout for that's going to be right here. It's a PDF file. In this particular case, it's something you have to sketch in first angle and third angle projection. Now, once you've done that, what you need to do is to tell me you've completed the assignment. Even if you put the assignment on your Google Drive, you still, in Brightspace, have to tell me you've done it. And you tell me you've done it by uploading a file. So what I want you to do is to add a file. And the file I want you to add is the text file that simply tells me that you want me. So for instance, I'll just make a text file. Just create a text file someplace. I'm going to go right click text file. I'm going to just call it please grade. You can call it whatever you want. And in that file, actually it could be empty as far as that goes, except you can't upload an empty file. So let me go back to what I had. Alright, so what you want to do is to have something in that. So just create a text file, and then in the text file, put a note, and that note simply says, whatever you want actually, but please grade the assignment. If it's something you put on the Google Drive, you can just say, which is in my Google Drive. So now we can upload that because it has something in it. So I'll add it. It comes up like this. Now when it comes up like that, you have to pick the button that says submit. So you have now told me that you've submitted it, and you've indicated that it's in the Google Drive. The description of what the assignment is right here. Now when I evaluate something, I can't really evaluate that because I made myself a student, but I'm not really a student. But the point is this, that when I do evaluate something, oh, and the other thing is, once you do submit something, you'll get a little email. It'll come from MCCS LMS no reply, but it just tells you, yes, you submitted something, and Brightspace knows that. So when I grade, and so now I'm grading, this is from a prior class, and I will gray out these names. So you can see here that you can give me a note if you submit something. This is the second time this person was submitted that. So you notice down here it says, I realized I thought I submitted it, and it's 5 days late. So I know when it came in late. Something went wrong, so he told me, and so I know I can ignore the fact that it came in late in this particular case. So right now I've evaluated this twice. First time I evaluated it, opens up, looks like this. Over here I have feedback, and I initially put a date down. I said no late penalty because he had indicated why. He's got the assignment over here, and then I explained to him what it is that he didn't do correctly, and gave him a little video about it. That video goes through and explains what kinds of problems that he had.
A couple of pretty fundamental things going on here. When
So,
you call this first angle projection, it actually isn't first.
So you can hear that I'm giving him some instruction in the background. And by the way, when you look at this, you can open it up like that, and it's a lot easier to see. So I've just muted it right now. But I'm going through and explaining why this assignment was not done correctly. So now, he initially had gotten a grade of 5. And so then he submitted it again, correct. It really is much simpler than you thought, little note, and then he gets the 9. Then when he submitted it the second time, up here, he gave me a little note indicating, thanks for the feedback. I know what I did wrong now. Please do it again. I look at the project and it's done correctly. So that's how we're going to go back and forth. And I'm going to give you feedback every single time on anything that you submit. So there's just two other things that I want to cover. And those two other things involve the fact that I have many of my videos are on YouTube. In fact, most of the videos I make, not the class recordings, I don't put them on YouTube ever. The videos that I put on YouTube, let's go open up another. Yeah, the videos I put on YouTube are videos that can be available to everybody, so you can always find them there. But if you go to my YouTube site and at the top, normally I'm the first one that pops up, and there it is. There's a photograph of me, so you can tell it's me. There are some other things too. The only other one that might show up, there's a Dan Abbott that deals with sharks all the time, and there's some TurboTax. There's a bunch of Dan Abbotts, but anyway, if you can't find me right off the bat, you can just type in Dan Abbott SolidWorks or Dan Abbott SMCC, something that makes it specific to me. So when you go there, on my Google account, I have playlists, and in the playlist that includes playlists for each of the classes. So right now I'm talking about the mechanical design, but the other classes I teach have playlists as well. So you go in here, and then over on the side, it's got all these different YouTube videos. So for instance, if you were taking this class and wanted to know how to set up your own template, you go in here and it explains how to do that, goes through, does all the stuff. So I will probably have a link in one of the assignments that shows you how to do these kinds of things. But these are general, open to the public playlists, and you'll notice I have all these people who subscribe. Those are not students. Those are people who subscribe because I made these public. And so there are a lot of people who have responded to these. They've actually improved them in some cases when they've asked questions or been confused about things. So the last thing now is how to find out what your grade is. So if you go into the grades pull down, the grades pull down shows you what your grades are on various things. Now right now, this is the beginning of the semester. I've logged in as myself. As a student. I'm looking at this as a student. So the grade item will be here, and the grade will be there as well. It'll have the final calculated grade, and you can also see your average as you go through the semester. So when you see your average going through the semester, let me see if I can make that look a little more like you'll see it. Yeah. So once you're going along, all the assignments that were open will be listed here. You'll show you your grade for each one of those assignments. It shows you what the breakdown is for the grades. In this particular case, I have the exams up first, so there are 2 exams for this class. These are all project grades, and you have some homework grades down here. And then at the top you'll have your final calculated grade, and that final calculated grade will be your running average. So you should always know how you're doing. I will say, for many of you, the grade that is there will be lower than your final grade will be, because if you have a 5 or more than one 5 because you're pending resubmitting something, that will look like a very poor average. But once you've submitted it and the average is then the new grade is submitted, then your average will go up. There's also an app that you can download, this Pulse app, if you want to use your phone to keep track. So that's the stuff I wanted everybody that had taken a class with me to know before we get started. And those are the kinds of things that have caused some people in the past to be a little confused, but people haven't submitted things correctly, or they aren't sure what their grades are, or they don't realize that I give them feedback. In one case, I had a student who didn't understand that there's going to be feedback, and that feedback has to be something that you read. And it doesn't, when you go and look at your assignment, there is a tab saying read feedback. So you have to select that to see what I've given you as feedback. I am generally able to get everything graded within 1 week of its due date. And so if you think you've been submitting things and you haven't been getting grades, or you don't think you have, it's probably because you haven't opened the feedback and looked. So make sure if there's any confusion at all about whether or not the work you've been submitting has been graded, you let me know. I'm looking forward to this semester. I love teaching these classes, and I'm hoping that we've gotten some of the problems out of the way here early, and you'll be seeing a lot of me in Zoom classes or on these videos.